Explosive rumors are shaking the NHL, and the best player in the world might not stay where he is. Fans are nervous, insiders are whispering, and one big question is growing louder every day. What if Connor McDavid walks away? Is this the beginning of the end for Edmonton, or just the calm before a shocking move no one is ready for? Connor McDavid is not just a player, he is the heart of the Edmonton Oilers. He is the captain. He is the face of the team. And for many fans, he is the reason they watch hockey. Right now, McDavid has not left the Oilers. That is the truth. He is still playing for Edmonton. He is still leading the team, and he is still one of the best players in the entire NHL. But something feels different. There are growing rumors about his future. People are starting to ask questions. Will he stay forever, or will he leave one day? McDavid signed a contract extension that keeps him in Edmonton for now, so there is no sudden move, no trade, no goodbye yet. But in sports for now can change very fast. The real story is not about today, it is about the future. Many experts believe that McDavid's future depends on one big thing winning, more specifically winning the Stanley Cup. McDavid is already a superstar. He has awards, he has points, he has records, but one thing is missing: a championship. Great players want to win. They want their name on the cup. They want to be remembered forever. If Edmonton cannot give him that chance, things could become very serious. The Oilers have tried to build a strong team. They have stars like Leon Draisaitl. They have made playoff runs. But they have not finished the job. They have not won it all. Fans are excited, but also worried. Every season that ends without a cup makes the questions louder. How long will McDavid wait? How patient can he be? Right now, McDavid is saying the right things. He is focused. He is leading. He is playing at a very high level. On the ice, he looks unstoppable as always. But off the ice, the conversation is changing. Because in the NHL, things can turn quickly. One bad season, one playoff failure, one big decision. That is all it takes. And if that moment comes, everything could change for the Oilers. What if Connor McDavid actually leaves the Edmonton Oilers? This would not be a normal move. This would shake the entire NHL. It would be one of the biggest moments in hockey history. A player like McDavid does not come around often. When he moves, everything changes. First, let us talk about the Oilers. If McDavid leaves Edmonton, loses more than a player, they lose their leader, their identity, their biggest hope to win a Stanley Cup. Fans would be shocked. Some would be angry. Some might even stop believing in the team for a while. And it would not stop there. Other players could start thinking about their own future. Leon Draisaitl, his close teammate, could also face big decisions. The whole team structure could break apart. One move could start a chain reaction. Now think about the teams that would want McDavid. Almost every team in the NHL would try to get him. Big markets, strong teams, cup contenders. They would all line up for a chance. Because adding McDavid is not just adding a player, it is adding a game changer. A team with McDavid instantly becomes dangerous. They get speed, skill, leadership, and a real chance to win the Stanley Cup. That is why, if he ever becomes available, the race to sign or trade for him would be intense. But here is the key point. McDavid is not gone yet. Right now, he is still loyal to Edmonton. He is still chasing a championship with the Oilers. He is still giving everything on the ice, and that matters. The next few seasons will decide everything. If the Oilers become champions, all these rumors will disappear. McDavid could stay and build his legacy in Edmonton forever. But if they fail again, the pressure will grow even bigger. And then the question will not be if anymore. Because in sports, even the greatest players have limits. And when that limit is reached, big decisions are made. So now the real question is, will Connor McDavid stay and become a legend in Edmonton? Or will he make the move that changes hockey forever?
What's your reaction to the addition yesterday, Connor Murphy, kind of what your experience is playing against him and what you know about it?
Yeah, not fun to play against, which is always a good sign. Just solid player. I think he can really help for sure.
A quiet moment in the Edmonton Oilers locker room suddenly turned into one of the most talked about comments of the NHL trade deadline. Connor McDavid stepped in front of reporters and spoke about Edmonton's newest move. The words were calm, but the message carried weight across the league. A veteran defenseman had just arrived in Edmonton, and McDavid's response quickly caught everyone's attention.
The Edmonton Oilers have traded for a defenseman. That news came about an hour after the Oilers general manager said a new player wouldn't fix their defensive issues.
It's not going to be magical new players. It's going to be the approach that we take as a team, understanding that going through a whole period without getting a lot of scoring chances is okay if you don't give up a lot.
Not long after he spoke with the media, Stan Bowman agreed to trade a second-round pick to the Chicago Blackhawks for Connor Murphy. The 32-year-old defenseman is in the final year of his contract and has 4 goals and 9 assists this season. He's played 805 NHL games between the Blackhawks and Coyotes.
The Edmonton Oilers made a major move before the NHL trade deadline when they acquired defenseman Connor Murphy from the Chicago Blackhawks. The trade sent a 2028 second-round draft pick to Chicago, while the Blackhawks agreed to retain 50% of Murphy's $4.4 million salary cap. The deal brought an experienced defensive player to a team focused on strengthening its blue line before the final stretch of the season.
Yeah, anyway, all right, so the Oilers, not a great start coming out of the Olympic break, giving up quite a few goals. They go and pull the trigger on a deal yesterday. They bring in Connor Murphy. It's a second-round pick in 2028 going to the Chicago Blackhawks. Hawks are going to retain 50%. He's a UFA at the end of the year. Craig, is this a deal that you really like?
Yeah, it is. It's a deal I really like. Connor Murphy's a really solid player, and he's a stable, steady player. The exact type of player that Darnell Nurse needs. Listen,
Murphy entered the Oilers organization with more than 775 games of NHL experience. The defenseman stands 6'4" and is known for playing a physical defensive style. Throughout his career, he has taken on difficult matchups against opposing forwards. Coaches frequently use him on the penalty kill and in late-game defensive situations when protecting a lead. During the current season with Chicago, Murphy appeared in 60 games and recorded 4 goals and 9 assists. His role focused mainly on defensive coverage rather than offensive scoring. He regularly played against top offensive lines and ranked among Chicago's leaders in block shots and defensive zone minutes. Edmonton's decision to add Murphy came after several defensive struggles during the season. Analysts reviewing team performance noted that the Oilers ranked 18th in expected goals allowed at 5-on-5. The penalty killing unit also ranked near the lower tier of the league. These numbers became an important factor as the front office evaluated roster needs before the trade deadline. Connor McDavid addressed the move shortly after it became official. The Oilers captain spoke during media availability and explained how Murphy's playing style has been viewed by players across the league. Not fun to play against, which is always a good sign. Just a solid player. I think he can really help for sure. I do not think you can have too many of those guys. Those guys are extremely valuable, so I'm excited about it. McDavid's statement described the type of defender Murphy has been during his NHL career. Forwards often measure defensemen by how difficult they are to play against along the boards and in front of the net. Murphy built a reputation in that role while playing with the Blackhawks. The Oilers expect Murphy to join a defensive group that includes Darnell Nurse, Evan Bouchard, and Matthias Ekholm. Coaches plan to use him in defensive situations and penalty killing assignments. His presence allows the team to distribute defensive responsibilities more evenly across the lineup. The Western Conference playoff race remained close, and several teams were separated by only a small number of points. Each roster decision during the trade deadline period carried direct impact on playoff position. McDavid continued producing strong numbers during the season. At one point, he recorded 96 points, including 34 goals and 62 assists. His offensive output kept Edmonton among the top scoring teams in the league. The Oilers rely heavily on the combination of McDavid and Leon Draisaitl to generate offense in critical games. Despite that scoring production, Edmonton's recent seasons have ended without a championship. The Oilers reached the Stanley Cup final twice in the previous 2 seasons, but both series ended in losses to the Florida Panthers. Those results placed additional focus on roster improvements entering the new season. Management identified defensive structure as one of the main areas requiring reinforcement. Advanced statistics from the season showed the Oilers allowing 2.37 expected goals against per 60 minutes during 5-on-5 play in certain defensive matchups. Analysts pointed to defensive coverage and penalty killing as areas that needed improvement before the playoffs. Connor Murphy's arrival directly connects to that need. Throughout his career, Murphy has been used as a shutdown defense. Coaches rely on him to block shots, clear the front of the net, and limit scoring chances during defensive zone pressure. These responsibilities often appear during penalty kills and late-game situations when protecting a lead. Murphy also brought leadership experience from Chicago. Before the trade, he served as one of the Blackhawks' alternate captains and remained among the longest tenured players on the roster. His role inside the locker room included mentoring younger defensemen while handling difficult defensive assignments on the ice. Inside Edmonton, the Oilers coaching staff began preparing defensive pairings that could include Murphy alongside veteran defenseman Darnell Nurse. Both players possess large frames and long reach characteristics often used to disrupt opposing forwards near the crease. Coaches expect this pairing to face some of the league's most skilled offensive lines. The trade also reflected the strategy of Oilers general manager Stan Bowman. The front office focused on adding experienced players rather than making major roster changes. changes. By acquiring Murphy with partial salary retention, Edmonton strengthened its defense while keeping its core group of forwards intact. Connor McDavid's remarks about the new addition highlighted how players inside the locker room viewed the move. His description of Murphy as not fun to play against echoed the opinion many NHL forwards share about physical defensemen who protect the defensive zone. As the trade deadline approached, attention across the league remained fixed on whether Edmonton would make additional moves. The Oilers had strengthened one key position, but the playoff race in the Western Conference continued to tighten, and every game began to carry greater weight.
I think they were already sellers, Anson, but I think the way this week has gone, it has the Maple Leafs even considering not just the UFAs, but some of their longer contracted players. I think if people have ideas, they want to call them, just call them and they'll listen to what you have to say. I think they've been very disappointed by the way this year has gone, and they're willing to listen maybe on some things that they wouldn't have been willing to listen on earlier in the year.
A quiet sentence on national television just changed the Maple Leafs' entire trade deadline picture. Elliotte Friedman revealed that Toronto is no longer thinking small. The front office is widening its scope, and more names are now in play than expected. Core stars are not included, but the list is growing, and what that means behind closed doors is only starting to surface. Elliotte Friedman delivered the update during Saturday headlines on Sportsnet. He reported that the Toronto Maple Leafs are expanding what they are willing to consider before the March 6 NHL trade deadline. The original expectation was simple. Toronto would evaluate pending unrestricted free agents and decide whether to move. That plan has now shifted. Friedman said the word around them is they are widening their scope of what they would consider. That statement confirmed the organization is no longer focused only on expiring contracts. The front office is now discussing players who have term remaining on their deals. This changes the trade structure. Players with term often carry more value because acquiring teams control them beyond the season.
He's the captain of the Senators. He's a great captain for the Senators. He's not going anywhere. Austin Matthews, the one thing I can tell you about Matthews is, right before the Olympics, the Maple Leafs called Matthews and his representation, and they said, if we take a step back, and they knew that this was coming even before this week, which has really been ugly for them. If we take a step back, are we going to have a problem with Austin for next year? And they were told, no, there won't be an issue with Austin for next season at that time, right before the Olympics. So they're not looking to move Austin Matthews. I don't think they're looking to move Nylander.
Friedman also made a firm clarification. He stated, I do not think it is anything like Matthews or Nylander. I do not think we are talking about anything like that. That removes Austin Matthews and William Nylander from speculation tied to this report. Both players are under long-term contracts, and their names are not part of the widened discussions described on air. The deadline is set for March 6 at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. That leaves only days for decision. When a team broadens its scope this close to the deadline, it signals active conversations with multiple clubs. Trade talks expand when management evaluates more than rental pieces, and that is what Friedman's update indicates.
Could you see something like that? Maybe a Kiefer Sherwood, a Bobby McMahon, and getting a very, very cheap, under $2 million 20-goal scorer?
Yes, I do think that they could look for a depth forward that fits cap-wise 100%. Now, historically, they don't like rentals. That has been their play. They don't like guys who are rentals. Sherwood would be a rental. McMahon would be a rental.
One player discussed directly was Bobby McMahon. McMahon is a pending unrestricted free agent. Friedman said McMahon could go either way. He added that the fact McMahon remains with Toronto suggests no offer has yet met the team's expectations. That places his situation in a flexible category. He could stay or he could move, and no final decision has been reported. Friedman also mentioned defenseman Oliver Ekman-Larsson in relation to possible league interest. He said the Edmonton Oilers are looking at options on defense and at center depth. Ekman-Larsson is under contract beyond this season, which fits the widened scope Friedman described. It shows that teams are asking about players with control beyond one playoff run. This development comes while Toronto sits outside a strong playoff position. Recent losses have tightened the race in the Eastern Conference. Teams in that position often reassess strategy. Expanding trade discussions can serve two purposes. It can reshape the current roster, and it can also address longer-term salary structure. Defense discussions are part of that picture. Friedman noted that Edmonton is looking for a right-shot defenseman or a third-line center. He linked Oliver Ekman-Larsson to league interests, pointing out that Ekman-Larsson has experience playing the right side. Ekman-Larsson is signed beyond this season, and his contract status aligns with a broadened strategy. Morgan Rielly's name also surfaced during the segment. Rielly carries a no-movement clause in his contract, and that protection limits trade flexibility. Friedman said he was not certain whether Rielly had been formally discussed, but added that Toronto is considering more things. That statement reflects a wider evaluation of roster options even if restrictions apply. The Maple Leafs general manager Brad Treliving now faces limited time. The NHL trade deadline remains fixed at 3 p.m. Eastern on March 6, and trades completed after that time are not permitted for postseason eligibility. That firm deadline increases pressure in the final days. Phone calls intensify and offers change quickly. Reports indicate Toronto has struggled since the Olympic break, which has influenced how the front office views its position. When results decline close to the deadline, management often studies whether to sell assets, retain players, or adjust long-term planning. Expanding discussions suggests a broader internal review. Players with expiring contracts still remain part of the process. Bobby McMahon's situation remains unresolved. Friedman's statement that McMahon could go either way shows no final direction has been chosen, and that flexibility can shift quickly if another team presents an offer that meets Toronto's valuation. This approach does not confirm a rebuild, and it does not confirm a blockbuster. It confirms activity. Friedman's on-air update establishes that Toronto is listening on more names than previously reported, and that includes players signed beyond this year. It excludes core stars such as Austin Matthews and William Nylander, and it places the organization in an active negotiating position days before the deadline. With the scope widened and time running short, league executives now monitor Toronto closely. Conversations continue behind closed doors, and decisions must come before the clock stops.
Breaking now at noon, Pittsburgh Penguins captain Sidney Crosby is officially out. KDKA sports reporter Cassidy Wood is here in the studio with us this afternoon. Cassidy, this isn't just 1 or 2 games without Sid.
Yeah, that's right, Barry. Unfortunately, Sid will miss a minimum of 4 weeks now. Just not the news we wanted to hear today as the Penguins.
More bad news has just hit Sidney Crosby, and this time it could shake the entire Penguins season. The Olympic injury that forced him out of the gold medal game is now confirmed to sideline him for weeks. Pittsburgh has placed its captain on injured reserve. The timing is critical, the impact is immediate, and the consequences are still unfolding.
The Penguins return to the ice tomorrow after the Olympic break without Sidney Crosby. Crosby is out for at least 4 weeks. Fans have been waiting for news on his status since he was hurt while playing on the Canadian Olympic team.
Yeah, it really is, Christine. You know, especially when you consider that Sidney Crosby has really been an Iron Man for the last 4 years for the Pittsburgh Penguins. He has missed only 2 of their last 300 games, but that now is going to change today.
The Pittsburgh Penguins confirmed that Sidney Crosby will miss a minimum of 4 weeks because of a lower body injury. The injury happened during the 2026 Winter Olympics in Milan. Crosby was hurt in Canada's quarterfinal game against Czechia. He left the ice late in the second period after getting tangled along the boards and did not return to the game. After evaluation, the Penguins placed Crosby on injured reserve. The team announced the move following his return from Italy. Being placed on injured reserve means Crosby cannot play during this recovery period, and the team can adjust its roster while he heals. The 4-week timeline is the minimum. His status will depend on medical evaluations in the coming weeks. Crosby did not play in Canada's semifinal game against Finland. He also missed the gold medal game against the United States. Canada went on to lose the final 2-1 in overtime. Before the injury, Crosby recorded 6 points in 4 Olympic games. He was serving as captain of Team Canada during the tournament. After the gold medal game, Crosby spoke about the injury. He said he was pretty close to playing, but ultimately could not go. He also said he did not have an issue with the hit that led to the injury. According to reports, he credited the medical staff in Italy for giving him a chance to attempt a return. At the time of the injury, Crosby was leading the Penguins in scoring this season. Before the Olympic break, he had 27 goals and 32 assists in 56 games. Despite his age, he has remained one of Pittsburgh's top offensive producers. The Penguins entered the Olympic break with a 29-15-12 record. They were sitting in second place in the Metropolitan Division with 70 points. The team now faces a tight schedule over the next several weeks. Reports indicate Pittsburgh has 26 games remaining in the regular season, including a stretch of 15 games during the next 4 weeks, while Crosby is expected to be out. The following day, Canada's head coach said it was too soon to confirm Crosby's availability for the semifinal. Crosby did not dress for the semifinal matchup against Finland. Connor McDavid took over captain duties in his absence. Canada advanced to the gold medal game, but Crosby was again ruled out before the final against the United States. The United States defeated Canada 2-1 in overtime to win the gold medal. Crosby watched from the sidelines. His Olympic tournament ended with 6 points in 4 games. Those numbers included goals and assists from the opening round games before the injury. His absence in the medal rounds changed Canada's lineup structure. After returning to Pittsburgh, Crosby underwent further evaluation by the Penguins medical staff. The team confirmed the lower body injury and announced the minimum 4-week recovery period. Placement on injured reserve gives the organization roster flexibility, but confirms he will miss multiple regular season games. The timing affects a demanding portion of the Penguins schedule. Pittsburgh reserve. They also acquired defenseman Samuel Girard in a trade earlier this season, adding depth to the blue line. This marks one of the first Olympic tournaments with full NHL player participation since 2014. Crosby has a long Olympic history. He scored the gold medal winning goal for Canada in 2010. In 2026, he again served as team captain. His tournament ended early due to injury. Crosby is in the 21st season of his NHL career. He remains under contract with Pittsburgh and continues to produce at a point-per-game pace. His recovery timeline now becomes central to the Penguins' playoff positioning. Medical evaluations will determine when he can resume skating in practice. For now, Pittsburgh prepares to compete without its captain during a stretch that could define its season.
Yeah, Canada comes back. Yeah. They tie it in the second period, and then in overtime, it's Jack Hughes for the USA. Unbelievable.
It's so fitting that the game went to overtime because both of these teams, the favorites coming into the tournament, were pushed to overtime earlier in the week in the quarters. So, I was hoping it would go to overtime for extra.
The golden goal ended a 46-year wait, and the celebration was loud. The images of Jack Hughes without his front teeth spread across the world within minutes, and less than 24 hours after overtime in Canada, Hughes delivered an update that shifted the focus away from the medal onto his condition. And that update carried consequences beyond the Olympic stage. Jack Hughes scored the overtime winner against Canada in the Olympic men's hockey final, and the goal secured the United States' first Olympic gold medal in men's hockey since 1980. The game ended in sudden death, and the final score was 2-1. One shot decided the championship as Hughes received the puck, released a quick shot, and beat the Canadian goaltender, and officials confirmed the goal immediately while Team USA left the bench in celebration. The victory ended a 46-year gold medal drought for U.S. men's hockey, and the last Olympic gold came in 1980 at Lake Placid. That team defeated the Soviet Union before winning gold, and this time, National Hockey League players led the roster, and Hughes' overtime goal placed him at the center of that historic moment. But the game carried another turning point earlier in regulation when Hughes lost multiple teeth after contact near the net. Broadcast footage showed visible damage and blood appeared on the ice as he skated to the bench for treatment, and medical staff evaluated him before he later returned to the game. There was no report of a concussion, and the injury involved dental trauma. Images of Hughes smiling without several front teeth spread across media platforms within minutes, and the moment became part of the Olympic coverage. Despite the injury, he continued to take shifts, and he did not leave the game permanently, and his return set up the final sequence in overtime. After the game, Hughes addressed reporters, and according to coverage from Sports Illustrated, he confirmed the damage and said, "I will get them fixed." That short statement carried weight because it confirmed that dental repair would be required, and it ended speculation about whether the injury was minor, since it was not temporary and it required follow-up treatment. Olympics.com reported that Hughes laughed off missing teeth after scoring the golden goal, and the article described him smiling during celebrations despite the visible loss of teeth. The report focused on the sequence from injury during regulation to return to play, and then the overtime winner, and that timeline became central to the story. A New Jersey oral surgeon later spoke to NJ Monthly about dental trauma in hockey, and the surgeon explained that injuries involving lost teeth often require procedures such as implants or reconstructive work. While the surgeon did not treat Hughes directly, the explanation outlined the seriousness of such damage, and dental replacement is not immediate because it involves planning and medical care. The celebration on the ice continued long after the overtime goal, as Hughes skated with teammates, held the American flag, and wore the gold medal during the ceremony, while cameras continued to capture his missing teeth. The images symbolize both victory and injury, but the story did not end with the medal presentation. The focus shifted quickly after the medal ceremony, and attention moved from the overtime replay to Hughes' condition as his statement, "I will get them fixed," confirmed that dental procedures were ahead. That meant medical appointments and recovery steps, and it also meant questions about timing as the National Hockey League season prepares to resume. Hughes plays for the New Jersey Devils in the National Hockey League, and the Olympic tournament paused the NHL regular season while players are expected to return to their teams after international competition ends.